Have you ever heard the expression, "You're preaching to the choir"? Well, that alone brings up a sociological topic because one of the components of culture is language, which includes idioms and other culturally defined expressions. Now, this particular expression means you talk about a topic that the audience either already knows and or agrees with. So I am probably preaching to the choir when I tell you that there are a lot of challenges and pressures that adolescents face. And you're probably listening to this and saying, like, duh. Well, this is a topic of great concern and interest for sociologists. They research what are the causes and what are the effects of such pressure. Now, as you can see from this chart, some of the causes could come from expectations from teachers and parents as to their work in school. It can also come from the desire to make meaningful relationships and friendships and fitting in with peer groups. Now, this connects with several other topics which we have looked at already in this course. First, there is the emphasis on group and social interaction. A major cause of the stress and the pressure for adolescents is wanting to fit in with the in group. Now keep in mind that the in group will be different for each of you based on your interests and your talents. If you're athletic, the in group will be the athletes, or sometimes commonly referred to as the jocks. If you're into computers and gaming, then the in group would be those that have a similar interest. The in group could be built around things such as academic goals, music interests, subculture groups based on a particular fashion. The key to remember is this: we desire to be accepted by whatever group we determine to be the in group. Why? Why is this so important? Because we find security and even our identity by being connected to these groups. And this is a major cause that sociologists have identified leads to adolescents joining groups such as gangs. So all this emphasis on group identification, which becomes more pronounced in the teenage years, can lead to many pressures and challenges. The Just Say No campaign, apart from seeing interconnectedness of personality development, the need for social interaction and group affiliation, well, that will end up coming across sounding like a really nice cliche, but it's going to lack real influence in an adolescent's life. This is why, even with all of the kinds of DARE drug prevention programs and sex education initiatives that are launched in schools, we still see very high percentages of adolescents who engage in these behaviors. This is the main idea for your textbook reading today. You want to look and see how adolescents face many different and difficult challenges, including issues related to sexual behavior, drugs, and suicide. So as you're reading, you want to aim to answer these main questions. First, what are some of the main concerns about teenage sexual behavior? Secondly, why is teenage drug use such a problem in the United States? Finally, what social factors contribute to teenage suicide? Now, to answer these questions, I recommend that you use the plan note-taking system, which we've looked at before. Now, to make it more manageable, use each heading in this section as a separate chart. For example, you should have 3 charts, each with a rectangle box in the center where you, P, predict the main idea. For the first chart, the main heading would be teenage sexual behavior. On your second chart, it would be teenage drug use, and your third chart, teenage suicide. Next, locate the central points. These are your subheadings, which are in red. So for the first one on teenage sexual behavior, you will have 4 ovals in which you will have the headings in the sexual revolution, the rate of teenage sexual activity, influences of early sexual activity, and the consequences of early sexual activity. Once you've done this, now you're actually ready to begin reading this section. So as you read each subheading, write notes in that oval that explain that idea, or draw out additional ovals that might connect to that subheading to add the information you need to understand it. So for example, under the subheading of consequences of early sexual activity, there are 6 negative consequences that are listed in your reading. I would put each of them as a separate oval that connects to the consequences subheading like you see on the screen. And then what you would do is go through and add what are those negative consequences and give a brief description. Now go through the reading and complete the rest of the charts for these 3 main challenges that adolescents face today.